Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. And before we get into it, I would just like to say a big thank you to Mr. G. Smith and to Capella, to long-term viewers. Thank you very much. You've been most generous, and I did say I'd give you a tip hat for your contributions. Thank you very much. Now, there is a new poll, again another one, a constant stream of these, which shows that the SNP are falling behind in the polls. And it's continual, it's not just like an occasional poll that shows it. It's a definite downward trend. And it is wonderful, isn't it? It is the sort of thing that sort of puts a little spring in your step, a little bit of hope in your heart, knowing that finally these evil, corrupt degenerates, for the want of a better word, will soon be gone, and that normalcy will return. Now, unfortunately, normalcy will be the Labour Party. They're not great, but at least they're not obsessed with independence, and just by happen chance they may get one or two things right, so who knows. Anyway, we'll take a look at this, see what the current numbers are, see how bad it is for the SNP, and how good, therefore, it is for everyone else. Here goes. So, poll puts SNP 5 whole points behind Labour, as Humza Yousaf is dealt another bitter blow. And you have to ask, how long can this man survive before the others in the party decide that he's a liability, that he's toxic, and that he's going to cost them their jobs? Surely they must see this. Surely they must realise the folly of having a moron in charge. And yet apparently not. Who knows? Anyway, the survey also suggests Scots are split on the UK government plans to send migrants to Rwanda, despite the policy being deemed illegal by the Supreme Court. That's a decision that was made and released this morning. The government took advice. Someone challenged it. They went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said it was illegal under the European Convention on Human Rights. And prior to Suella Braverman being fired, she was about to suggest that we leave the European Convention on Human Rights, because by being a member, it means we cannot control our own borders. But that's a separate video, which I will probably look at. But it just goes to show the strength of feeling. So yeah, he's a man out of touch with reality, out of touch with the people of Scotland, and he's leading his party to electoral defeat, and yet they keep him as leader. Thank heavens, because he's the greatest recruiting sergeant for the unionist cause. Nobody wants to be associated with him. He's such a loser and a moron. Hey. Anyway, a new poll has suggested the SNP now trails Labour by 5 percentage points in Scotland, ahead of next year's general election. And according to the survey, 35% of Scots are ready to back Sir Keir Starmer's party when the UK next goes to the polls, once the don't knows are removed. So it's a simple those who expressed an opinion kind of poll. Now, that's just the Labour. When you look at the Tories, who are really in disarray, massive civil war falling apart in England, but actually slightly resurrected in Scotland, and they're looking to take a seat or two, particularly in sort of the more remote areas of Scotland. And that itself would be remarkable. But, if the people of Scotland actually grow a little bit of sense, look at where SNP MPs are incumbent, look to see who's second, and whether it's Labour, Tory, Lib Dem, whoever, and don't vote party lines necessarily, but vote for the party most likely to oust the SNP, then it could be even worse for the SNP. But the whole point, of course, is get as many out as we can and bankrupt them. Anyway, it also suggests the latest pattern in studies showing the SNP losing support to Labour. It also suggests splits in the Labour Party over the war in Gaza, as well as Mr Yousaf's call for a ceasefire, are failing to make an impact on voters. So voters are looking at the Labour Party exploding, looking at all the stuff that's going on all around them, and they're still voting Labour because they don't want to vote for the SNP. Goes to show how bad that it's got. That even a fractious, divided party like Labour are still seen as more attractive to voters than the SNP. Doesn't surprise you though, because they are wits, aren't they? Awful. Also, their politics are terrible. Anyway, the poll also suggests that it's bad news for the Scottish Cons, with the party on 9%, the same as the Lib Dems, with tactical voting set to play a major part in the election. And I mentioned that a minute ago. Humiliatingly for the Scottish Greens, they are polling at just 3%, 5% behind Reform, while while Alex Salmond's Alba Party is nowhere. I mean, literally nowhere. You're getting, across the whole Scotland, it's not even 1%, it's nothing. The whole party exists, of course, just to give Alex Salmond a pension, basically, a bit of income, because he hasn't got much if he, doesn't have a party. What's he going to do? Nobody's going to vote for him. He's yesterday's man. But if he starts a little party and gets a few extremists to join him, they all pay their fees. He draws a salary, and all is well. And if those people want to give Alex Salmond money, that's up to them. I'm not going to say it's wrong, because you've got to support someone or support no one. You don't have to support anyone. But really, Alex Salmond? Ooh. Anyway, 1%, and this is bizarre, but 1% said they would vote for Plaid Cymru. This is Scotland. But hey, anyway, there is still much to play for within the survey, suggesting 19% of Scottish voters had yet to make up their mind on who they will give their vote to. And of course, that 19% is ultimately the target for them all, because 19% is a huge section of the population. It's nearly 1 in 5. Nearly 1 in 5 voters haven't decided yet. It can go any way. It could go anywhere. Imagine, example, that those 1 in 5, those 20%, 9 and 20%, all voted Tory. Well, that would change everything. They're not going to. We know they're not going to, but it would change everything. But if you divvy it around, it is more likely that the non-voters or the non-decided will vote Labour rather than SNP, because they're obviously not infatuated with the SNP. And who else is there at the moment? You can't vote for the Tories. You can't. And like I say, I've always maintained I'm slightly right of centre on money, left of centre on when it comes to people. But, I appreciate what true conservatism stands for. But what you've got at the moment aren't true conservatives, are they? They're a bunch of chancers, and they're trying to out-left Labour. It's sad. Anyway, of those polled, 37% supported the plan to send people to Rwanda, and 37% supported it, 41% opposed it. So I think the mood of the nation is you don't send them to Rwanda. I think also the mood of the nation is that you don't let them in the first place. But hey, it's a strange poll, isn't it? It's a strange sort of set of circumstances that this has happened. But there is another wonderful picture. I get the impression that the Scottish Daily Express picks up the worst possible pictures of useless deliberately. I think they do it deliberately. They keep putting these pictures up that make politicians look ridiculous. And that's absolutely fine by me. But look at him, trying to be the puppet master. He's not realising that the strings go upwards. Any old ho, stopping there. Now we see it time and time again in the whole sort of last year or so. Every poll has showed the SNP losing support to Labour. Labour are sort of very much resurgent and growing, and the momentum is with them. But the momentum is easing away, and there is no real drive for the SNP. Certainly, membership numbers are falling. The quality of the politicians is through the floor. Even popularity, even how we put it, they're very raison d'etre of independence. That is slowly seeping away. People are now more aware, I think, that there are far, far more important topics than independence. And why not? Because they are. It's true, they totally are. And they're just destroying everything they've got. Anyway, I'll stop there. Thank you very much for watching this one. It was just a little quick video just to show the continuing failing of the SNP and their loss of support, which is always a welcome thing to see. I honestly can't wait for the next big elections. Whenever the next leader of the Tories calls the general election, it's going to be wonderful. I'll be up all night going, have you seen who's lost? I will do it live. I've got to, haven't I? Anyway, thank you very much. Speak soon.